All right, I'd like to call to order the Vicksburg Village Council meeting of October 18th, 2021. Will we please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Much better than Zoom.
I'd like to observe a moment of silence, please. Manager Mallory, if you'll call the roll, please.
Roll call for the Village Council meeting of October 18th, 2021. Trustee Merrill. Here. Trustee Wagner.
Here.
Trustee Olson.
Here.
Trustee Reister.
Here.
President Pro Temp Keller.
Here.
And Trustee Holmes and President Frisbee are excused.
Thank you. We have an agenda in front of us. Will I entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
Trustee Wagner, so moved.
And support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Is there any discussion? There's no additions, I assume, correct? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda in front of us. Don't see any scheduled appearances. Jim?
Correct.
No public officials?
Correct.
Okay. All right. At this time is citizens' comments time. Any citizen can comment on an agenda or non-agenda item for 4 minutes. Ask that when you come up, you please state your name and your address.
Karen Ney, 1113 Winter Cherry Lane, Vicksburg, Michigan. So, per the agenda, the council will be going into closed session regarding buying some property for up to $80,000, and then coming out of this closed session to have the council vote on giving the village manager permission to negotiate the purchase of whatever this is. This seems like an extremely quick turnaround for something that has to be done behind closed doors. And why give staff the power to negotiate if it isn't what the village residents might want? While I have no doubt the village manager wants this passed, I would like to recommend that it be discussed publicly and tabled until the next council meeting to allow residents to learn more about it and to have the option to provide input. Unless this is going to be presented in the vernacular of a used car salesperson that we must do this today, trust me, we will never have this good a deal again, or we have to do it this way. Well, the good thing is we don't. Let's practice the transparency we've been hearing about and let whatever backroom deals and plans that have already been developed be openly shared before any vote takes place, or vote no. My opinion today, Karen Ney.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
My name is Rebecca Walters. I live at 420 South Kalamazoo Ave, Vicksburg, Michigan. I am here as well to say nay in regards to the $80,000, along with the $1,500 increase you want with the downtown for picnic tables and other things. When we village residents go to the village manager and others asking about sidewalks or extra salt for different things, we're told the village has no money. The residents can't get what we need out of our village because there is no money. But now you want to spend $80,000 on property that's behind closed doors that we have no clue what for or the purpose, and you want to add picnic tables, but we can't get wheelchair accessible people through our towns to walk their dogs, to enjoy strollers with our kids. I believe a DPW member last year did a front flip off of an ATV when he was snow plowing our sidewalks, and my neighbor, Tony Frisbee, has it on camera. And when I brought this forward, I was told, well, I'd like that video for reference, you know, because it's comical, not let's try to solve this problem for not only our residents, but the employees as well. I'd also like to bring up forth to the attention of the fire department, or not fire department, police department, that we are lacking. Vicksburg used to be one of the towns that you knew if you were coming anywhere out of town, if you were coming through Vicksburg, you had to slow down because you got caught going 37 over 35, you were getting a ticket. This happened all through my high school career living in Colon, and then I moved here to Vicksburg because our police were on top of it. You mentioned child abuse or endangerment. You get told, well, I mean, I could check on it, but unless there's marks, I can't do anything about it. When you let your police officers know that there will be marks because you've seen it, you have video evidence of this, and then they don't even make contact, there's an issue with that. When you mention that there is dangerous speeds going on around the construction zones and your police officers are telling me, well, we can't do anything but give them a citation. Last I knew, it was a double fine and worse consequences. We need to take back our village in regards to the police doing their jobs and making sure that they are doing the mandated inspections and stuff that they're supposed to be doing when child endangerment and neglect and abuse is going on, along with making sure that driving our roads right now as they are tore up are safe for all residents and not just being told, well, I mean, we could do something about it, but it's just a citation, so we're going to let it go. We're not going to do anything about endangering everybody else. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens want to approach and address the council? Okay, we do thank you for your input. Moving on to number 9, we have approval of the general consent agenda. We have item A, minutes from the regular council meeting October 4th. We have B, the warrant report for $741,683.49. It includes infrastructure payments. C, we have event rental requests. And D, we have correspondence from John Steer's emails. What's the pleasure of the council?
Trustee Olson, I move that we approve the general consent agenda for this evening.
Trustee Wagner will support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Is there any discussion? Okay, Manager Mallory, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Roll call vote on the general consent agenda. Motion made by Trustee Olson, supported by Trustee Wagner. Trustee Merrill.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
And President Pro Temp Keller.
Yes.
And the motion passes.
Okay, at this time is item number 10. It's for the village council to go into a closed session. I've got a couple statements that I want to read first before we entertain a vote on going into closed session. Pursuant to Michigan Civil Law 15.268 subsection D, the village council is authorized to enter into a closed council session in order to consider the purchase or lease of real property up to the time an option to purchase or lease that real property is obtained. While the village council may enter into a closed session to discuss the property and the potential negotiations for the purchase of same, please let this statement serve as a reminder that no decisions on the purchase of any property may be made during a closed session. All such final decisions must be made pursuant to Michigan Open Meetings Act, Act 267 of 1976. Having said that, I will entertain a motion by the council to enter into a closed session at this time.
So moved.
Reister, support.
I'm going to want a roll call vote on this, Jim.
Yes, motion to enter the closed session by Trustee Merrill, supported by Trustee Reister. Hearing no further comments. Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Merrill.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
President Pro Temp Keller.
Yes. Okay, at this time, the council will adjourn to an ante room and we will conduct our closed session, and at that point, we will return. Okay, at this time, I would like to reconvene the council from closed session to open session. May I have a motion to do that?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we are back in open session. At this time, we're going to request a motion, discussion and request to approve the village manager to enter into negotiations to purchase property. If negotiations result in a tentative agreement, it will only be finalized via council approval at a village council meeting, which is open to the public. So I'm just stressing again, this is simply to give the manager authority to negotiate. It is not an approval to do anything other than that. So I would like to have the council entertain that motion and support.
Trustee Wagner will make that motion. I move that we approve the village manager to enter negotiations to purchase property, and if negotiations result in a tentative agreement, they can only be finalized via formal council approval at a village council meeting open to the public.
Trustee Olson, I second.
Is there any discussion on this? Okay, Manager Mallory, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Roll call vote. Trustee Merrill.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
President Pro Temp Keller.
Yes.
And the motion passes.
Okay, we have the next council action item up. Manager Mallory, you want to expound on this a little bit, please?
Correct. When we first designed the streetscapes downtown, that was pre the social district and some of the layouts of benches and tables. We've been looking at the last few Tuesdays on what would best be to continue to make downtown not only walkable but sustainable by a hangout area. And we had this streetscape engineer develop how many 46-inch tables with either 4 bench seats, which would be ADA compliant. And we approached the Planning Commission DDA board last week asking, requesting to approval not to exceed $9,000 for the purchase of up to, I believe, 8 tables we'll be able to purchase utilizing Downtown Development Authority tax revenue that the village receives. So it would be tax revenue that we receive to be reinvested in our downtown area. Practically, as we're starting now, it would look at like at minimum 3, maybe 4 of the tables being in front of the large bump out on Prairie Street, in front of the China One and Hideaway. Potential for other tables to be located at the corner, the northwest corner of Prairie and Kalamazoo, and the northeast corner of Prairie and Main Street, as well as Liberty Lane East. If anyone's been downtown recently, both curbs are in on Prairie Street, so you're seeing how the width of the sidewalk is really descriptive upon one's view. By the end of the week, that probably will be the case on Main Street as well, with 2 very large bump outs that come together there at Liberty Lane. So, and I envision as we move into next spring, additional furnishings being placed out in the downtown area, especially with Oswald Park fundraising exceeding what we needed to raise. So, but I'll be happy to answer any questions on it.
So Jim, once again, this is money that the DDA, that we garner from the DDA to be used to reinvest in downtown.
Yeah, as we go through and I'm trying to count up in my head, but I think there's 6, 7, or 8 different revenue streams of money that the village receives money from. And it's always been our practice to utilize general fund money, last in line, if you will, and general fund is our local tax revenue money. It's been, people have inquired, reference sidewalks. We garner some state money for sidewalks in our Act 51. Large portion of that in this fiscal year was utilized for the non-motorized sidewalk south of W Avenue to complete that, which was on the 5-year goal. And so, yeah, this is village money, that it's tax collected money under the Downtown Development Authority to be reinvested in our downtown.
Mr. Mallory, are these going to be permanent set tables, or are they going to be movable or
They'll be bolted in.
bolted in? Okay. Are we looking at still yet this year, or are we going to wait until spring?
Depends on the availability. We've had quite a bit of the furniture delivered, and we're storing at DPW. These tables would be in addition. That area in front of the Hideaway in China 1 originally called for 4 benches. We know we will not be installing those benches. It depends on the delivery date of the tables, and we'll keep the council apprised. And
Okay.
we're evaluating all of the furniture installation, as well as the installation of trees. If you're downtown and you see the grates that will break up the sidewalk,
Right.
those are where trees will be. And there downtown will be more trees than there was. But we're even in discussions, do we want to plant those trees late November, early December, or wait till better planting season in the spring? So, but those decisions will come here in the next few weeks, and we'll make sure we update the council once we've made that decision.
Okay, thank you.
And you also stated that the DDA Planning Commission unanimously supported this, correct?
Yes, last Monday, they unanimously supported the expense of it, but it is, overall, the council oversees the budget, so that's why we as well come here for the approval from the council. So tonight, what would happen is we would, in our accounting system, add this to the fiscal year, so that's what the budget amendment vernacular is for. And then we would go to the same company we've purchased all this other furniture from, in hopes, and we believe they would honor the contract price of the other furniture and add this to the order.
Is there any further questions?
Jim, if that pricing does come back higher and they don't honor the previous pricing, because we know we've seen a lot of increases in those in the last year, would that come back to council for an amendment or an approval on the pricing?
It depends. Under the purchasing policy, the village manager can, on a change order, I think we're in the understanding of a hypothetical we're discussing right now. I think what would change is the amount of tables that were ordered. I believe right now the pricing will be able to purchase 8 tables for under $9,000. But if some variable changed that, then we might only get 7 tables now. But the village manager would be authorized under the purchasing policy for a change order amount that might purchase an additional table, especially if it came out of a different revenue fund source. I don't anticipate that, but we'll certainly know by November 1st.
Thanks, Jim.
On the DDA, we purchased tables near Jasper's Pizza a few years back. And I think at that time they were about $1,000, so it doesn't seem like they've inflated. And these things should last like 25, 30 years. So there are cheaper things out there, but they don't last. They're not weatherproof. And so I feel real good about these prices, actually. I mean, it'd be nice if they were cheaper, but they haven't seemed to inflate it a whole lot.
Well, and we volume purchased with the amount of furniture and technology from, trying to think of the company's name that the furniture's coming from, but it is, I think it comes with 10-year warranties, and it's commercial grade, municipal type furniture that you're exactly right, should last. Yeah.
Any further questions? If not, what's the pleasure of the council?
I will make a motion to support and approve to authorize the village manager to purchase 8 commercial-grade outdoor tables to add to the social district area, and approve a budget amendment allocating up to $2,500 from 248-729 to 248-750. The total amount of money to purchase the 8 commercial-grade tables is not to exceed $9,000.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Is there any other discussion? Mr. Miller, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Trustee Olson.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Merrill.
Yes.
President Pro Temp Keller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, at this time, we will have the village manager's report. Mr. Mallory?
Yeah, thank you. To update on the infrastructure project, hopefully we're looking at good weather this week. But today was and in fact, they are working till 8 o'clock tonight and tomorrow night. But our curbs are in on Prairie Street. I did not go down to Richardson tonight. But if they aren't completed all the way down there, they certainly will be in the morning. The sidewalk on the south side of Prairie Street is prepped to pour tomorrow. The north side of Prairie Street, where it's non-colored cement, is all poured. The openings, besides where you see the grates for trees, but the openings, the bump outs, the corners are all a colored all the way through cement. Those test pours should occur this week or early next week to ensure they meet the specs, and then that pouring will be shortly after that. The sewer line has been installed on Washington Avenue from Maine to Michigan. 2 of the leads were completed, or 3 today, and by that, sewer leads coming from the building to the new pipe, which probably Trustee Merrill had a front row view for, was quite extensive on how we had to get that. That section of roadway had a 4-inch water main pipe that none of the village records indicated was there. So worked around that. And we anticipate those leads certainly being completed by the end of this week, and storm pipe beginning on Washington between Maine and Michigan Avenue. After that is done, there'll be a new water main put in that block as well. But more importantly, to downtown, by the end of the week, you will see Main Street prepped. It was flagged today, half of it, to demonstrate where the sidewalks are going from Prairie to Main, or from Prairie to Washington. That is turning into a one-way, so you'll see quite a difference once the curbs are put in. As well, angled parking is moving to the east side of the street with some parallel parking on the west side. So that'll be quite a transformation once the curbs are in and people start to see that. We are still on schedule to have the downtown completed. All the infrastructure is underground up through Washington. We talked a little bit when Trustee Olson asked that question. When I say completed, I'm talking about cement and asphalt being in. We still would love to get the furniture and trees planted yet this year, but we're going to do what's in the long-term best interest on when that's installed, and we'll update everyone. All the fire protection stems have been put in the buildings, and that program is, I think, again, another step in the right direction for this village. We now have 15 buildings that have the availability for fire protection and suppression in them. I'll pause there and answer any questions you might have on the project.
Just wondering, we're still looking at what date to see things kind of coming to fruition down there.
I think it's important weather-based the next 10 business days. We have authorized them. They've worked multiple Saturdays in a row. I authorized them last week if they had to work on Sundays that would be allowed. They didn't feel it. They still feel they're ahead of schedule. Okay. I think by the first week of November, on Prairie Street, we should see the base coat of asphalt in and overwhelming majority of sidewalk in as well. I think you're going to start to shortly thereafter. The power was being put in to be ready to put the street lights back in. It's our goal 100% to have street lights, both traffic signals and street lights, installed yet this calendar year, and by mid-November I anticipate that being up.
Okay.
And I've never watched the weather so much. I can tell you there's 30% chance Thursday, but hopefully things don't change.
I have one other request, and I
Sure.
don't know whether it can be done or not, but in trying to get to Family Fair and coming down Michigan, they've put a couple of just 2x4s. Is there any chance that they could put a piece of wood that's kind of graduated so that when you it's tearing up my car?
Well, we have a meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock with the engineer firm and our contractors, and we'll make a point of asking
We'd really appreciate that
improvement
because,
on that.
yeah, I mean, all they have to do is do like a wedge. I don't know. Just seems like it wouldn't be that hard for them to do. And it would save our cars. Thank you.
Any other questions on the infrastructure? Yeah, Julie?
This up ages ago. When AEP did the power lines on Washington Street, they put these power lines that are like 20 feet taller, and it just looks so industrial and ugly. And I mean, I'd put a couple thousand towards getting that buried, but I don't think there's any time at all to do it. And if we ever do a thing like this in the future, I just wished I would have thought of it a lot sooner. But all of Washington, they took the mature trees out and put all these T-poles that are a lot taller, and it's just.
When was that done? Not in this project.
Probably 8 or 10 years
Oh,
ago.
okay.
It's been a while, and I don't know if they ever do remediations for making a place super ugly. But it's probably way too late, but if we ever do things like this in the future, it's really an ugly stretch now, and it didn't used to be. So
I think it's a good point, and one of the things that I know Trustee Reister's working on is having a tree committee to look at those futuristic type planning and to bring those points up because there's certainly going to be future projects. We have 400, 500, maybe as many as 600 more residents to look at their water lead issue. So we certainly, as we schedule that out over the next 19 years, we'll be looking at the impact of roads and where those are to be done. And it goes to the heart of what you're talking about, that planning. I know the city of Port Huron did an interesting thing. They just came out last week and committed to planting 100 trees a year for the next 10 years, so to always have that tree canopy in their city and downtown area. So it's a good point. So yeah, Trustee Merrill.
There's one more thing. We're reusing those existing street lights, and the street lights are like a soft oval, and the light just shines up into the universe, into the sky. And that, I guess, is also not necessarily great for wildlife and called light pollution. And I don't know, I know they're gonna reassemble those light fixtures and put them back up, and they've been repainted, but I didn't know if there was a way of putting a reflective, like painting inside that globe, so that the light isn't shooting vertically. It would be more shooting down or sideways.
Yeah,
they're
I
doing
can-
different things in bigger cities than us.
Yeah, I
where
can
they're
look into that. I
controlling
don't
that.
think that,
I don't know if they could paint the glass to make it so that the glass that is an oval, it's got a cap. I don't know if they could do anything to make that not shoot up vertical.
yeah, that's something that we will have to look at. After the lights are back up, because
Okay, got it.
I do know that they've been sandblasted, repainted, and are ready to be put
Together.
up. And it's in the future. We can certainly look at that.
I can speak a little bit to that, seeing so in my normal job, that's what I do, but it's called dark sky compliant is what you're talking about. And Portage has a dark sky compliance, and those type of globes, you can mask them to some extent, the top of the globes, but then it really throws the photometrics or how the light performs when you do that. So, but it can be looked at after the fact once they're up. So, I've got a question on the east side of town that bared the burden for the early 4 months of the project. The easements, when is that going to be springtime when they're going to look at the grass for the easements?
They say they're going to address it yet this calendar year, but I think we'll be going back. I know we have areas in the 22nd Street project that will require them to go back and re-rake and input to the condition it was prior to the project. One of the things I do know, because it's on the agenda tomorrow to bring up, is backfilling between the sidewalk and the street on several locations on the east side of the project. And I'll stress to them that that's something I'd like to see done here in the next, to get that buttoned up and ready for seed on the east side. But
Thanks. I just wanted to clarify for residents on that side of town whether, because I know it was brought up a couple months ago, whether that was going to be addressed, and I just didn't know if they were going to wait till spring to hydroseed it or what, so.
yeah, it's a subcontractor, and one of the things we've ran into, it's two different subcontractors. 22nd Street has a far more responding type subcontractor in that work than the east side portion of the project. But the Millbacher will be held to the standards to have it to what it was prior to the project, and we'll keep them to that.
I have a question real quick. Washington and Main Street, is that going to stay a two-way stop, or are we going to four-way on that?
Washington and Main Street would,
It's a two-way now, but are we going to make it a
Right.
four-way because of it becoming one
I'm
way?
going to have to get back to you on that. I'll ask tomorrow on the Prine Newhoff's traffic engineer what that's designed to be.
Okay.
I'm relying on Matt Lewandowski from Prine Newhoff.
Yeah.
I know we discussed, because it's historically been a two-way street that's going to a one-way, what's the signage going to be to
Yeah.
alert people to that? But I'll ask if it's going to be what the stop sign configurations will end up being.
Now, I assume that we're going to have signs stating "Do not enter." It's a one-way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, on the other, so people realize as we see these curbs, the downtown used to have, in some cases, 18, 19-foot wide traffic lanes. So that's on each side of travel. We've reduced all the traffic lanes downtown to 11 feet on each side, so it's 22 feet for vehicular traffic. It's engineered and designed that way to slow our traffic down naturally. We have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. There will be no trucks allowed on Main Street on the one-way. That's including deliveries as well. They'll be delivering from this, just like they've done during construction. There will be the truck route coming off Richardson for that block on Kalamazoo. But that, if you are asked, the traffic lanes look smaller. That's accurate. That's one of the reasons we were able to almost double the sidewalk space, but also environmentally, many downtowns are moving to an 11-foot travel lane just to keep speeds down. So that's the last on that. I notify the council that I have provided Diane Gilligan with the additional title of deputy clerk with responsibilities that began last week on organization of our electronic files. I'll still do the agendas and be here at the meeting as the acting clerk of the village. The minutes she will put together and be part of the packet, and then as we ascend and comfort levels grow, we'll continue to evaluate that. But I wanted to let the council know I made that staff movement here in the last week and a half or so. Two items. One is this is a busy time period for some of staff, mainly our treasurer. It is I feel guilty even saying that. Michelle worked on the financial report with Steve Breyer about 4 or 5 weeks ago. That's all prepped, and we have that back in draft form. But this week starts the actual audit from Aaron Stevens and his team. So some of that will be done remotely, but for the remainder of this week, they'll have representatives in the office going through, and that's the 2020-21 fiscal year, which ended June 30th. I know the draft financial report came back. Pretty proud of it. We'll end up dissecting all of that, and we will again give a public presentation, probably the second meeting in January, on the results of that audit and the financial shape of the village. But not to tease anyone, but it's pretty positive. So the last thing is we talked about kind of recapping and looking at in the rearview mirror a little bit over the past 5 years of where the village growing, and especially I'm talking about the government and what different policies that council have put in front of staff. So we're going to do that each meeting, probably leading up until at least the audit presentation. But 5 years in governmental time is pretty quick, actually. And if, for those that were involved either by observation or participation in government 5 years ago, there was some financial situations that were exposed and situations that the village was in that certainly needed improvement and really policies in that. So back in October of 2016, formal action was taken by the council for the budget amendment process. That was completely overhauled, where prior to that it was in June during a fiscal year budget presentation. All budget amendments were kind of blended in. The council in October of 16 overhauled that and went to a quarterly presentation. So amendments came in front of a council quarterly, and in the financial situation was put out to the public. That was prompted by a bond payment that was required to be made by the village that wasn't put in to that fiscal year budget. So that was pretty substantial. We had to pay a substantial bond October 30th of 2016, but it was nowhere located in in the budget, but we are at this point about 6 weeks into this new journey, and we put that financing together, paid the bond on time, but again, put that budget amendment process in place with council action. We also did a resolution 1017-16-2, which established a credit card policy and purchasing policy for the village. We committed to the police department to continue to canvass the neighborhoods 1 block each shift, but we also added in October 2016 being at all of the schools at drop-off and pickup time, and really started the foundation where we spoke about creating value in police services for a small community, and services that might not be provided in a larger municipality. We also did, for the first time, a presentation to the village council, reference the history of Angels Crossing Golf Course and how it became acquired by the village, what exact financial obligations were assumed by acquiring the golf course, and the commitments to debt that the village has, and those go until 2033. And we'll, in a couple council meetings, present on the golf course and very favorable news of where that's going. But this is, again, back in October of 16. October of 17, we re-amended the financing and boundaries of the village DDA. They had been expanded to include the industrial park, which would have certainly caused incredible financial difficulties for the village. Worked with businesses and members of the DDA and council to educate on what those boundaries were, how the money would be used. So October 17, though the industrial park was taken back out of the DDA and district redone. Council approved a final phase of the Allen Edwin development. Again, that was October of 17, and we're seeing that development build houses here 4 years later, adding to the general fund revenue of the village. Interesting enough that it was October 16th of 2017 that I presented to the village council an opportunity for the village on a USDA loan application, reference a potential $10 to $12 million infrastructure project. During that presentation, I anticipated that the project would begin in 2019 and completed in 2020. We were about 18 months off on that, but that's interesting that it started, back in October of 17. We also, I think, very valuable to the village, created a part-time director of planning position in which we hired Bobby Durkee to assist, and in incredible amount will next in November, we just submitted for publication, November 1st in front of this council will be the codification ordinance has been published, so the council will vote on that November 1st. There's just sent it off to MLive. I think it's Thursday or Saturday. They'll publish a request that'll go in front of the Planning Commission on November 8th, and all of that is really handled by Bobby and done to just an outstanding level. But that was in 2017. 2018, we presented to the council the opportunity for a PA 198 tax assistance for a company called Dutch Boys Auto Restoration that was from another community that we attracted to this community, and I think we've seen what community partners they've been over the last 3 years, but that happened in the fall of 2018. 2019, we entered into an agreement with ClearGov Financial Transparency Data, which was uploaded to our website, for all citizens can through our website see where the expenditure of their monies go. We still continue that partnership with them currently, and it's available to our officers or to our citizens. That was started October 21st of 2019. We also utilized resources and relationships to be able to purchase a used plow truck from the city of Kalamazoo in October of 2019 that started to plow the streets of our city, and I think is what was phased out by them is our frontline vehicle. I know the operator of it cares for it like it's his own. So the also in October 2019, we had submitted a grant, and it was approved by MDOT. They approved a $254,000 grant for an extension of a non-motorized trail north of TU Avenue, and we've seen that project come to fruition and be put in place, and hopefully here in the next few years we'll have Portage hook up to that and really be connected non-motorized. A year ago, we were in the project on 22nd Street. Infrastructure was coming through the field heading towards 22nd Street on October 19th, 2020. But I thought it was also important on October 19th of 2020, the council unanimously voted for a social district resolution, which was approved. And again, we're still only the second municipality in Kalamazoo County that I'm aware of that has put in place that economic tool of which state legislatures has allowed municipalities to do. We also entered a 3-year agreement with Renaissance Golf Management to oversee Angels Crossing Golf Course. And like I said, we'll have Tom Ham here, and it might be the first meeting in December. We're just coordinating with his schedule since we're meeting in person again on the presentation. But the revenue has gone very well at Angels Crossing. Here, I anticipate at the next council meeting putting a pretty extensive equipment list in front of the council with staff's recommendation to purchase to get some of these equipment needs that are out there. So again, that's just taking a few minutes to show some things, and we'll highlight each month historically over the past 5 years on how different policies or actions by the council put in place a blueprint for staff to attempt to accomplish to put this village in a position of sustainability for truly the next 10, 20, 50, and 100 years. And I'm very, very proud. All the directors are here tonight and at most council meetings of their embracing the expectations we have of accomplishments. We really don't set goals in front of us. We have expectations and follow up on those expectations. And I was in a conversation late this afternoon with a person involved in the infrastructure project, one of the contractors who does this work all over the state, and it was satisfying because when you talk to people and get exposed to them that have other contacts with municipalities, and they point out what this village has done and is doing and putting in place that some other municipalities might not be, as well as conversations with different economic engines and that, I think we're going to see Vicksburg continue to be the forefront as a smaller community in continuing in the direction that we see. I had a meeting last week, an initial meeting, already prepping the 22-23 fiscal year, and really focused on that will be the year to update a comprehensive update of the village's master plan and coming up with some ideas. So I've talked enough on that. Be happy to answer any questions, but again, I wanted to publicly thank staff because they really carry the bucket of water and allow me the opportunity to speak. So, but they should get the credit. So thank you.
I just have one statement, Jim. One of the things I think you may have overlooked or missed is that Scott Sanderson's now been our police chief for 4 years. And I want to thank Scott for all the work he's done, so.
Any other questions or comments by council members? Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, we'll move on to committee reports. South Kalamazoo County Fire Authority, Mr. Olson.
We have a meeting here Wednesday night, so.
South County Sewer and Water Authority, that would be me. We are meeting next week, so I'll have a report at the next meeting on that group. So, next committee is the Tree Committee.
What we have done is we've taken a map of Vicksburg and divided it into 4 portions and then made big pieces of the 4 portions. And this Saturday, we're going to go out to all the different areas and mark where there are trees that need to be possibly taken down, where we might need new trees. So that's our next step, is going to be on Saturday morning. So we're getting there.
Gail, I had a question, and it relates to the sidewalks. So when the trees and the sidewalks, they kind of intermingle, and I didn't know if I know it's a big task that you're already undertaking, but if you see any glaring problems with the sidewalk, I know Public Works is like to the wall, but you know, it could be noted where there are issues.
I think we're really
Possibly.
planning on doing that. We're going to
that
be
help?
looking at everything that is going on as far as the trees are concerned and where they are and if they're creating problems and so forth. So, yeah.
Good.
Okay, now we'll move to cats. Trustee Olson.
We have a meeting a week from Wednesday on that, so.
All right, we'll move to trustees' time. Trustee Merrill.
Okay. Well, regarding this action to just negotiate about the property, I've lived here my whole life, and I'm just going to say I'm very much in favor of this action, and that's all I can say. And I think it'll bring good things to people who live here, health, wealth, and safety. Thank you.
Trustee Wagner.
A few things tonight. Thank you, Carl. I came prepared today. First one, though, really positive, was the Vicksburg Historical Society, the Harvest Fest. We got all the reconcilement from the financials and the attendance. So there were over 2,000 attendees to that event. So thank you to everyone locally who attended, all of our board members, volunteers, and patrons. So thank you to everyone who made that a very successful event. Really looking forward to making it bigger next year as we're getting further out of COVID and restrictions and fostering more of that community involvement. So we raised over $5,800 from that event as well, not including what the vendors themselves took home and raised from their own profits and opportunities there. We are, well, the Historical Society is collecting and soliciting for the Christmas card lane this year. So that initiative is underway, actively looking for folks that want to get those 4x8 signs. So if you haven't been contacted by us, get a hold of me or another member of that committee, and it's free to put them up. It just costs materials to put the sign together. We do have a partnership with the sign shop, I believe is the organization doing some of the Illumilite signs, so it's a pretty reasonable cost. Doing some photo-ready artwork, they can have it turned around really quickly, and we're looking to have those installed the first week of December. So really looking forward to bringing that event back for the community. It was a huge success last year. We had, I lost the traffic numbers because the traffic counter didn't get put up until a week into the event, but we're looking to get that expanded and get even more Christmas cards. So anyone who's interested, please get a hold of us. We'd love to have it out there. And Gail, to your comments earlier, I have personally repositioned some of that lumber on Prairie Street for the gap in the asphalt. I got a few nice waves from folks that came behind me thanking me for saving their vehicles. Pretty simple. We can just, I got out of the car and I pushed it. I gave it a little shove, got it a little snugged up to the corner, and didn't have any issues. But You know, the light at the end of the tunnel, I can see it. So just another minor inconvenience, but it's kind of nice to get a smile and a wave from folks that just saved their bumpers. And congratulations and thank you to Diane Gilligan for the clerk, deputy clerk nomination. That's a new responsibility, and looking forward to having her in that role. I think it's going to be really beneficial. And that's my time this evening.
Thanks, Ryan. Trustee Reister?
Spoke already, but I would like to say to Ryan that the Harvest Committee met today, and there are some new things that are going to be tried next year. So we are looking at, and we've been working with not only just the Historical Society, but Generous Hands was involved this year, and so was the Cultural Arts Center. And so they've brought some really good ideas for next year. So look for more next year.
Trustee Olson?
Believe it or not, I'm good.
Well, I'm going to go village president's time. I'm pitch hitting tonight for President Frisbee, but I appreciate everybody's attendance tonight, everybody's input that you gave. As it was said, we're doing things for this village that are only nothing but good for the village. So everybody keeps that in mind, then things will work out. So with that, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?